I'm going to introduce you to someone who started out with a great idea, and it was two scientists, two cell phones, working from home. And now they're working with some pretty big players in some pretty big cities. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Loretta Meyer, co-founder, chairman, and CEO of SenesTech. I'll take a hug too.
Take a hug too? Well, we've saved the most bizarre for last. I really want to thank AZBio for inviting us and having us here, and Joan, that was the best soft tackle in the hallway in Flagstaff I've ever had, and you got me here, and I want to thank you for that. 4 hours before Salt Lake City, but I'm here. So our product is very different. Like most of the other things you've heard today, it is incredibly simple technology. It's just not easy. So the technology is built around humane animal population management. So what does that mean? I mean, that's a tagline. But, you know, what is our brand? Our brand is about bringing fertility control into pest management as opposed to killing. And so what I'm going to do today is really not a pitch. Everybody knows I'm just shameless when it comes to pitching. But I want to talk about the business plan. And there are many of you out there that we've known for years. Tim and I, oh my God, we've wrestled this thing how many times? But I think the business plan is a great way to understand a company, but most importantly, the evolution of a business plan, because anybody who tells you it's a static document has never really done this. SenesTech is one of the toughest little companies in Arizona. And you want to talk tenacity, you want to talk bootstrap, all of those adjectives go with us. But our business plan could take several different forms. Probably the most direct is the roadmap. However, I have Manhattan up here because that's one of the locations we're in right now. Then there's the chicanes. I don't know how many of you know chicanes, but if you drive in England and you're a Yank, you know chicanes. These are roadblocks. Then there's the ever favorite cul-de-sac. How many of you have gone down the wrong way? You're not being honest. So our business plan had to be built around our company, which was really shifting animal control methods from killing to fertility. You know, I visit a lot of places, I say, what's your problem? Oh, the rats are carrying disease. Oh my God, the rats are eating the wires in the switching stations. No, the rats are scaring the customers. And I said, your problem is not rats, your problem is reproduction. And how's that killing thing working out for you, huh? Yes, still putting out poison? Of course, you know, 15,000 children a year are poisoned in this country alone. But, you know, we had to have a product that was not harmful to animals, humans, or the environment. We've done that. Had to be cost competitive to lethal methods. When you're working with places like New York City, they spend $20 million a year in the subways alone. The city spends $200 million a year, and that's on lethal rodenticides. So, you know, I have no shame. I said to Mayor Bloomberg directly, how's that killing thing working? He said, well, not very well. That's why you're here. So it has to effectively address the pain of a global market. Now, I talk about New York, but you have to think about the world. You have to think about rats in rice fields. I mean, we don't depend on rice, but 50% of the world's population does. And the rice field rat can consume anywhere from 17 to 50% of a farmer's profits. So you have to look for where the pain is. Then, of course, you've got to have a return for your shareholders. So you better be dabbling in a market that's got some potential. So just looking at rodents, that's an annual market of about $45 billion a year. Now, okay, here is the secret. A female mammal is born with all the eggs she'll ever have. When those eggs are gone, she's sterile. We call it menopause in humans. I'm very familiar with that. But that's how simple the concept is, and that's what we do. Now, planning, planning, planning. And this is why I think the business plan, I've always looked at it as a three-legged stool. And I can't tell you how many times I've fallen off this stool. Capital, management, and a good product. So you start with the product, especially if you're one of those PhDs on the other end of the cell phone. You have to have a concept. You have to have proof of principle. So can we reduce the eggs in a mammalian ovary with absolutely no side effects and no harm to the environment, and it doesn't work at anything over non-human primates? So it's safe for our handlers, safe for human beings. Intellectual property. I heard that mentioned this morning. Yeah. We, right now, just for one rodent product, we have 4 patents. And then, because we work in other parts of the globe, we've combined those with trade secrets. We're kind of like the Coca-Cola company. And we make that concentrated product right here in Arizona. And that's how we maintain our trade secret. Beta testing. Well, I've talked about a lot of places. We've tested in Laos. We've tested in Indonesia. We've tested in Australia. We've tested in New Zealand. And then, through absolute stroke, I agreed to go to New York City. And right now, we are doing our beta test in the subways of New York City. And my field staff says it's really the most frightening field site I've ever sent them to. We are developing our manufacturing strategy right now. We have just entered into discussions with the world's largest pest management company. And we are at term sheet signature on Tuesday. That's the big event with the country's largest agriculture consumer. Sales and distribution, our strategy is to rely on our partners. Now, management. You know, you always start these little startup, you know what startup biotech is. It's ripping up $100 bills in a cold shower under verbal abuse. I can tell from the laughter, a lot of you have stood in that cold shower. So you start with the founders, they've got a good idea, but usually they can't get it out of the starting gate. Then you need the innovators, the people who can come along and see the potential. And then they see, this is a platform technology company. Does this work in dog? Yeah, here's the data set. Typical scientist. It works great in dog. Oh my God, this is non-surgical spay. Oh yeah, that's what it would be. Give your dog a pill instead of surgery. Then you have the drivers. Those are the people who come along and say, we got to drive this technology. And we've got to drive it in a way that fits our business plan. Then the builders come along, and they're the ones who say, okay, you're doing great in the US, we got to expand this to other countries. The most important team is your exit team. That's what your shareholders want to know. Who's going to drive us to the exit? Now, capital. We started with Aunt Virginia. And it kind of went like this. Hello, Aunt Virginia, do you have any money? Good, give it to me. Oh, what for? Oh, I'm going to sterilize dogs on the Navajo reservation. Good, love you too, bye-bye. After that, then it's the FF&F, friends, fools, and family. Hope I haven't insulted anyone in this room. Then it's the small private investors. Now, we are one of those companies that is almost mission-driven. And that's evidenced by our investment portfolio. When you look at our investors, and over 30% of them are first responders. Interesting, isn't it? That's EMTs and firefighters, police department, and thank you, Tom Omart, our Vice President of Business Development, for bringing in well over $2 million. The next stage would be VC or institutional investors. We're right now at the institutional point. We're in our final round of financing. And we have an $8 million offering available. Then, of course, your exit. Merger, acquisition, or an IPO. We're right now investigating all three of those to present to our shareholders. So, who does it? When do you do it? And how does it get done? And this little New York City rat, and yes, you can put a saddle on him. I can tell you that. You better check your business plan. Check that plan. Am I on the right page every day? So, our roadmap, we had to make some decisions, and we had to decide what the exit was going to be. What kind of company did we want to be? Were we going to be research and development? Well, I was comfortable there. I like research. That's what I do. Or were we going to be a company that was going to grow a technology to a licensing stage and then go on to something else? Or were we going to go all the way through build a manufacturing model? What was our exit going to be? So we looked at these options in this way. We could take our technology to the regulatory ready and sell it and avoid the government. That was really appealing. We could take our technology all the way through regulatory and jack up the value proposition on our license. Or we could take that technology all the way to market. Because our platform is so large, that's the problem for us as a small company. When you think of the opportunities, and I can tell you we have data in rats, mice, possums, wallabies, what else? I think that's it. We were invited to do camels in Australia, but I kind of backed off on that one. So what did we choose and what did we do? Well, because this technology was so versatile and so large, we chose to take it to market. We needed more management expertise. That we brought on board. We built business models. And I know Kim cringes all the time. Those business models are reevaluated probably weekly. If we do this, if cost of goods changes this, if this does this, what's our bottom line? Everybody in the company watches those models. And by taking this road, all of our exit strategies were available to us. We're a very attractive acquisition. We've been offered a merger. And we're investigating an IPO on the London AIM, which has a real appetite for green products. And of course, on the NASDAQ. So how did we move through those chicanes that I talked about, those roadblocks? You know, we had to pick our market first. We had to decide where was the market pain the greatest. Food, disease, damage, okay. What did a market entry look like? Were we going to enter into a market still making, you know, product on our research lines, or was it going to be a little different? Who were the early adopters going to be? Where were the barriers to our entry? Who didn't want us out there? Well, I can tell you, Decon is not real happy with us today. Regulatory, where were those barriers? Capital, oh, of course, you know, the tin cup has a hole in it. Everybody knows that. And public perception. On our website, we have an info button. I cannot tell you how many times I get the comment, they're going to sterilize the world. No, we would have started that in Washington, but we're not. Most importantly, for a strong business plan, we wanted an unfair advantage. I mean, who doesn't? And that had to be something we would use during the branding. So our choices were, we selected the United States, we selected food, agriculture industry, piggeries, chicken houses. We selected the diseases. We have a project in West Virginia around a hospital. We selected the New York City subway system. That's a misnomer, I can't lie to you. They selected us. They called up and said, we had rats. I said, no kidding. And so we partnered with New York City, and the NIH was extremely generous. And we are working in the New York City subways with tremendous results. We are competing with lethal rodenticides, which created, here's the unfair advantage, okay? I'm never in the right place at the right time, but this happened. This administration told the EPA director to get poison out of the environment. Wow, how do I do that? Well, cancel those registrations. Oh, we have no legal means to cancel registrations. Well, do something. Get them to volunteer. Get the poison out of the environment. So they tried that. Not all the companies wanted to play that game. So last June, they issued their intention to cancel lethal rodenticide. 12 decon products were coming off the shelves. You're not going to be able to buy those at Walmart. Well, of course, a lawsuit emerged. You know, nobody talks about attorneys here. They only talk about capital. I think it's one and the same. So what happened is the rationale for the EPA to cancel those registrations and not have it be an unfair business challenge was to say they were doing it to encourage these companies to use alternative products. Well, guess what? There were none. And there was an EPA representative in Jackson Hole when Dr. Cheryl Dyer gave a talk. After her talk, he came running over to her. Are you going to register in the US? Oh, no, it costs too much. No, call me. Well, have you thought about using this product as a, it's not lethal, right? Call me, call me. And we got back to the office. I said, did you call that guy? And what followed was an invitation to Washington at their expense, my favorite. And we met with the top director of the EPA all the way down to the reviewers, who invited us to submit our product for registration, and that they were going to make use of a treaty that existed, and we would get a concurrent registration in the US, Australia, New Zealand, and Great Britain. And I thought, wow, that's great. What else can you give us? We can't afford your fees. We'll give you a fee reduction of 75%. Okay, all right, we'll do this, but we have to have an experimental use permit to do our work in New York. You know what? We're going to waive that for you. And I'm thinking, this is not what I was told regulatory was supposed to be like. And not that I'm clueless, a little slow on the uptake sometime, I said, I think we have an unfair advantage. We're the only game in town. We are the only product right now in the pipeline for fertility control in rodents that is not lethal. And then, of course, we had this deal. We weren't going to tell anybody about New York. They weren't going to tell anybody about us. Then the Wall Street Journal's on my phone. And somebody leaked the story, which went from the Wall Street Journal to the New York Times to the Bloomberg News to 47 different news stations, and I just finished a 20-minute segment for Discovery Channel's Brave New World. Well, you know what made that you know what happened then? I got a call. Hello, this is Dr. and I'm from Orkin. I said, wait a minute. No, your advertising says I'm supposed to call the Orkin man. Why are you calling me? And he said, Orkin wants to be the first pest management company with a green product on their trucks, and when can you be in Atlanta? So that's how we got through those chicanes, but it wasn't without pain. It wasn't without pain. You know, our first target species was canine. I love dogs. So does Bill Reed. Don't we love our dogs? But you know, for a company our size to go through the FDA to create that product for the non-surgical spay, our scientific advisory board said, why would you do that when you have this much literature in rodents and you have no idea the size of that rodent market? So of course we flipped, we went to rodents. We had to address the most unknown market first. Don't laugh, Tim, I know you're going to giggle. So we thought, oh, what the heck, we'll go to Southeast Asia. We'll go to India. What else is big we could go to? You went to China, I didn't. Kind of out of our league. And then we had an evolving capital structure. How many fundraising rounds were we going to need? We had started with small investors. We've stayed with small investors. Now that doesn't seem to be a problem. We are focusing completely on contrapest. We have a fast track at the EPA. How nice we're using government money to do it. And we've got 2 large public companies at our table. And those license fee things, those are really great bonuses. So our way forward, how do I make this thing work? Can you guys make that, there's a video on that top little rat. Can you make it work? You can make it work? That's success. That is a rat who has food, water, and that's the bait. Of course, we've engineered it to bind the same receptor as cannabis in the brain, so it never stops drinking. The rats in New York City are drinking up to 20% of their body weight every day in Grand Central Station. And that's the second little picture. Our way forward is through New York City subways, and that's brought us to the marketplace with a registered product. And that's the end of our story, and it has been a ride. Thank you.
Thank you.